Hello, everybody. Take two. We are having some massive technical difficulties, but we are back here. It's a Friday on eXhuming the X-Files. My name is Matthew, joined once again by Jeremy.
Yep, let's do this.
Yeah. Let's hope our technology lasts longer than 30 seconds on this recording. So, where were we? We were talking about this episode. What is it called? Never Sleep Again? Never Again?
Never again.
Never Again. This is what I remember from a childhood is Gillian Anderson's sort of fuck me face. There's a lot of sexuality, I would say, in this episode, and let's talk all about it, Jeremy. So tell us, how's Scully feeling?
She's horny.
Yeah, she's very horny.
And I'm okay with that, because... Anyway, starts out at a court case in Philly. There's a divorcee dad who's getting the bad news from the judge that he is, in fact, getting a divorce, has to sign off on the paperwork, and he's clearly bummed out about it. So he just goes straight from the courthouse to kind of a seedy dive punk bar. Just starts getting blasted at the bar until he gets cut off by the bartender. So, in a reaction to getting cut off by the bartender, he looks at a photo of just him and his kids, and he puts a cigarette out on his own face.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what he did. Like,
yeah,
that he's so mad about himself. But, whatever. It happens. He leaves the bar in the rain, lightning storm. He's stumbling around. He sees the devil all over this tattoo parlor, like apparently across the street from this seedy bar. And because he sees this pinup girl drawing that winks with bright blue eyes, just like he has, it winks at him. He goes inside. He gets a tattoo on his arm. Stumbles back to his apartment. Starts just like stripping off all of his clothes as he's just naked. And I mean, anybody who's been really, really drunk and just gone home knows that you disassemble like that sometimes on the way to the bed. But he takes the shirt off. He uncovers his tattoo, which I believe is a no-no. As a non-tattooed guy, I really wouldn't know, but you're not supposed to uncover that bad boy until it heals up a little bit, but just immediately does it. It's already completely healed. And underneath it, as he collapses to the floor in unconsciousness, it says, "Never again," underneath this pinup lady's face. Then we get to the title screen.
Yeah. I was not very enthused with this opening prologue cold open. I didn't like how it ended, where he just kind of collapses. It just felt like anticlimactic or something. I didn't understand why he was getting the tattoo. I don't know. What did you think of this opening?
I mean, it was shot kind of cool. Once he discovered the tattoo parlor, like the angles and the lighting was kind of neat in 480p. But no, it didn't grab me, and especially coming off of the last episode, the natural high that we were on off of that, it's like, okay, are we just in for more of the standard season 4 action?
Yeah. I'm also just a point about me. I hate tattoos. I'm like completely anti-tattoo. A total turnoff for me. A girl with a tattoo, doesn't matter where it is or how small it is, total turnoff. So I have conflicted feelings from this episode. I'm just gonna let you know. We can discuss later if you'd like.
But it's just it's a guy with okay, all right.
No, I'm talking about later on when Scully gets her tattoo, Jeremy. That's what I'm talking about.
It wasn't even a good tattoo, too. But yeah, we'll get there. Then it flips over to Mulder and Scully standing outside the Vietnam War Memorial talking to some Slav about weapons and covert military operations or something, and Scully is just completely checked out.
Yeah. The camera just stays on her the whole time.
She goes over to the wall. She sees somebody's like memorial to like his brother or his dad or something. She steals a little bit of a flower and then cuts to the divorcee dad doing his shitty cold calling telemarketer job about cryogenic stem cell research, and then gets called a loser by his own tattoo. He doesn't realize that it's talking in his head yet, so he immediately stands up and starts looking for the bitch in his office that calls him a loser. And he ends up getting sent home by his supervisor.
Do you recognize the voice of the tattoo?
No, not at all.
It's Jodie Foster.
Good. Really? It's Jodie Foster?
Yeah.
Oh, I, okay. It wasn't. I remember being quite disappointed that it wasn't the sultry voice that I would expect her to have.
Yeah.
It's just kind of a chick's voice. Like,
Yeah.
okay. Um, it cuts to Scully hanging out in Mulder's desk. She's mad that she doesn't have a desk yet. So
I feel
apparently at the FBI.
Yeah, well, I made it. I wrote this down on my notes. I'm like, wasn't there an episode in the past where I mentioned like Scully doesn't have a desk? Like, where's her office? And I love like when this happens, where she's like, "Why don't I have a desk?" And Mulder's like, "Well, I just thought your area was in that dark corner over there with no lights."
He's like, you can mash your desk up here, and we could play
Battleship.
battleships. Yeah, and it was very dismissive, and it's clearly bothering her. But
He's an ass this episode. Oh,
All Mulder cares about is like, okay, well, get your mind back in the game because I need you to do this, this, and this as far as the investigation goes. And Scully just isn't having it. She just straight tells him no.
well, doesn't he
And
say like they're forcing him to take vacation or something because he hasn't taken a day off in 4 years, and now they're forcing him to go like on vacation? So he's like, "You're gonna do all this shit while I go do whatever." I guess. Well, we find out where he goes, which is funny. But yeah,
but
it's
she
just
just straight up
strange.
says no, and then
Yeah,
he starts like kind of dressing her down, and she's like, you're not my man or like my supervisor or anything.
yeah.
You can't tell me to do
You
any
can't
of this shit."
assign me work.
Which is very well, at least at the state level, doing the state job I do is very par for the course. I don't know if that's a federal level thing that everything's so compartmentalized that you could just say that isn't my job as much as I hear it at the state, but it felt very government job like when she was saying it. Um, let me see what happens next. Oh yeah, uh, refuses to do that part. Worried that her life and her career and investigating the F bot or the X Files is just going nowhere.
It's like consuming her life.
Yeah, and she doesn't see the value in it anymore. It's very kind of she's very depressing, at least early on in this episode and late in this episode.
Yeah.
And Mulder being insensitive to it is, well, just how he acts, and that's not excusing it, but there's clearly something wrong, and Mulder's just missing
Yeah, and I
it
assumed it was the
entirely.
cancer. But as we found
Yeah,
out last
same.
episode, that wasn't the case. She didn't know that she had cancer at that point in time because they filmed them in different orders. So I just assumed she was really depressed because of that, and she didn't want to like open up to what was going on at that point. But
But
no, she literally feels like the X Files are worthless and consuming her entire life.
we cut over to the divorcee dad is begging for another chance from if it sounds like the supervisor is firing him for freaking out on female people that he works with.
Yeah.
And like, okay, he just had a shitty job selling penny stocks anyway. So he could probably get a better job, but as he's having a meltdown about this after they hang up, his tattoo starts making fun of him again, but he still doesn't realize that it's talking in his own head. And so he starts searching for wherever this voice is talking to him. And he figures out, or at least he comes to the conclusion that it's the girl that lives in the apartment below him because he can hear her through the vents. It's not. It's just some girl like watching TV. And he goes downstairs, beats down her door, and just fucking murks her behind her
Yeah.
door. And I'm like, that's awful. X Files. Why are we doing this? But okay.
Poor girl was just trying to enjoy some television.
Then the well, no, it's not like he's freaking out through the vent. It's I forgot the Jehovah's Witnesses. They knock on
Oh
his
yeah.
door as he's having this meltdown through the vent, and she's like, "You don't hear that girl down there fucking with me? Fucking with me. Like." And they immediately catch that he's not on the
Yeah.
level and just hands him a little, you need to find Jesus through this magazine thing, and then leaves. And then she goes downstairs, murks her neighbor, and then has this kind of cool. There was this cool shot where the camera is panning down a stairway, and it's supposed to represent that time has gone by.
Yeah.
And it's a transition shot to him suddenly dragging this large cardboard box down some stairs. And they just happen to have an incinerator in the basement big enough to dispose a body. But he doesn't take the body out of the box. He opens the box, and the first thing he pulls out is a Nokia cell phone. It's like, dude, the fire is not going to destroy that phone. I don't know if you know how really strong those phones were back in the day, but it ain't going to do it. And then he realizes his tattoo, which now has one, like the tattoo. Did you notice that the tattoo flipped between two eyes open and one
Yeah.
eye open,
Yeah.
which never ever made any sense?
Yeah, I don't know what that symbolized.
But it's wanting to be his girlfriend, or at least wanting all of his attention.
Yeah, it doesn't want him to interact with any other women. Because he says later on in the episode that like she hates women. She hates you when he's talking to Scully and stuff like that. Ta-
Problematic
Tattoo's
tattoo,
jealous.
misogynistic. Wait, what do you call a woman that hates other women? Not misandry and not misogyny.
Hmm.
There's got to be a word for it like that.
I'm gonna Google that.
Okay.
I'll let you know in just a second.
So Mulder cuts back to Mulder. He's standing out in the middle of nowhere doing this weird, awkward bending over shit in order to get better cell phone service. And I guess somehow he convinced Scully to do the job that she didn't want to do anyway. She goes on a stakeout, follows the Slavic guy into a grocery store where the dude takes a crib of cash off of Draco Malfoy and then leaves. And then he walks across the street from or into that tattoo parlor from the pre-title screen or scene.
Yeah.
So she goes inside, and our main character, the main bad guy or whatever with the tattoo on his arm, is arguing with the Russian tattoo dude. It's like, you need to take this off my arm as soon as you can. And he's like, no, you need to let it, heal and shit.
You get the tattoo you deserve.
And then for some reason, like, Scully just starts getting super horned up, looking at these dog shit tattoos on the walls.
Yeah, why did
And
she go in there in the first place? Like,
because the Russian guy went in there, or
oh
the
yeah, that's right.
Slavic, he goes into the back room, and she just stops doing that job and starts talking to this divorcee guy because she's like, she must just like the sleaze. There must be some smell, some aroma, some je ne sais quoi of pheromones that just turns her the fuck on. Because the last time I saw her like that, the weirdo Amish dude
Yeah,
waiter was
yeah.
just hypnotizing her, but this was entirely voluntary. Like, she wanted this dude's dick right off the bat.
Look,
And he
Scully
asked her,
gets horny. She's a grown woman. She has needs, Jeremy.
and makes me want to hang out in sleazy tattoo shops in Pennsylvania. I just get lucky eventually.
Google says it's just called female misogyny.
Oh, seems like there should be a better name for it.
Yeah, we should come up with one. Leave a word down in the chat. What should we call what should we call women who hate other women? What could that name be? That won't get us canceled at all.
Right. Make sure it has the word scissors in it or some. Anyway, he asks her to dinner like right off the bat because she's clearly receptive
Oh
to
yeah.
hitting on him, and she's like, "Well, I can't because my flight's going out tonight." And he's like, "Well, you change your mind. Here's my card." And she goes back to her hotel room. she gets a call from Mulder, and Mulder's what is he in Graceland?
Yeah, well, this is what's great about this, and I laughed out loud. It wasn't just because he's at Graceland, but when they're having their, like, kind of tiff in Mulder's office at the beginning, and Mulder's going on vacation, she asks him something like, she's like, "Well, where are you going?" And he says, "I'm going," he like, dead serious. He's like, "Someplace that, I need to go to reflect on myself." He's like, "Maybe you should go find that place for you as well." Like, Mulder makes it sound like it's a very personal place he's going, and, he needs to sort of gather his thoughts and stuff. And then you find out, yeah, he's just fucking at Graceland. And he's telling her about, "Did you know Elvis bought all of his furniture in 30 minutes?" I'm just like, it made me
He
laugh.
has Elvis's glasses on. He's like,
Yeah.
this is the neatest shit ever. Like, all right, good for you, but still weird. All right. Um, but and he's also like, and also, have you been doing my entire job for me because that's my expectation? And she's like, yes, of course I have been.
He's so mean to her this
But
episode.
she decides that she's not mad enough at Mulder to stop doing the grunt work, and she stays. She says her flight gets canceled, but I don't remember that ever really happening.
Well, there's a weather thing going on, remember? Like, I don't know if it's snowing or raining or something like that. And later on, when she's with the dude, and he's like, "Come back to my apartment," blah blah. I assume it's just the bad weather that's rolling through that caused the flight delay.
Oh, okay. Well, it was lame reasoning, but she calls him up and just says, "Hey, is dinner still on the table?" He says, "Sure, I'm a bum, so I don't have a car." And she says, "Sure, I'll come pick you up." Like, she wants the stank so bad
Yeah,
from this dude. She shows up, and within like 5 minutes, she's like, I don't want to go to a restaurant. I want you to take me to that shitty dive bar."
yeah. Take me to that bar.
And they go, all dressed up as they are, even though it's a seedy punk bar, and they seem to have fun. She's getting wasted, and she's like clearly setting herself up, get socially lubricated enough to fuck this guy.
What was she mentioned something about, she tells him when she gets to the apartment that she's like, "I don't date much." And she says, "The last date I was on," what movie? Like, there was some sort of movie or something that she went and saw, and God, what was it? I should have wrote it down.
I
Dang it.
remember what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
it had been she. But the way that I read that scene wasn't her complaining that she hadn't had a date in a while. It's that she was putting it out there that she's not interested in having a date like that. Like,
See, okay.
she's like, I want to stay in.
I took it that she was just very, like it was awkward for her. She didn't know really how to navigate this social situation since she hasn't really been doing that. Like, Scully doesn't do this sort of thing, like just show up at a random dude's house and like, "Fuck me, please." Like, that's not something that we typically expect.
I got I got the exact opposite. I got
Okay.
her she's just throwing out signs like, I don't really want to go to the restaurant. I don't
Okay.
really want to leave. I don't want to do anything fancy. I don't want to put on any sort of airs like I need to impress you. I know you're into me. I'm into you. Let's just take the shortest route to get there.
Okay. Fair enough.
And so they get drunk. She decides that she's really impressed with this stupid tattoo, particularly the red in the lips for some.
Yeah.
And so I guess she just up and decides because of that she wants to go get the tattoo, right? So they go to this tattoo parlor with the Russian guy in it. She gets this. I I guess the Ouroboros thing is supposed to mean something.
Yeah. Well, before we get into the actual tattoo parlor, she has this whole thing, like, there's this weird sort of, like, sexual thing going on. I don't know if they're like, he kinda grabs her at the table, and she's like, "Oh," and then the whole thing with the tattoo pops up where he says, like, "You should get your own tattoo," or something, or, "You need to, like, get your own." 'Cause she's like, there's a earlier on, the guy's like, "You get the tattoo that you deserve," and I think that's what sort of initiates it, and then she gets really horny at the tattoo parlor.
Oh God, yeah, because
Really horny.
she's getting a tramp stamp, and the
Yes.
whole time it looks like she's coming,
Yeah.
and it's
She's, like,
hot.
moaning and, like, thrusting as the tattoo needle is going in her back. Now, let me get back to we had, some technical difficulties recording this. I remember from, I don't know, 15 years old, whatever, watching this episode, there was a specific shot that has stuck with me for my entire life. And this shot was when Gillian Anderson is like, she's kind of bent over a little bit with her back out, and she's like, making these moaning sounds, whatever. The camera is like above looking down at her, kind of like in a
Yeah,
close up, and she is looking up kind of like past this camera towards the dude, right? But she's got the most like fuck me right now face I'd ever seen at that point. I was like, oh my god. And she's just moaning and like doing these little thrusts and stuff and like rolling her eyes back as this tattoo needle. I'm like, this is what would Freud say about this, Jeremy?
Freud would say that it was steamy for sure.
No, yeah, yeah. She was the one that should have just been sweating profusely in this episode. She needed to go full Leonard Betts right there.
But she wasn't fixing to kill anybody, so
Right.
the sweaty stuff is coming. But
Okay.
um, they they go back to his apartment that apparently was also very very close. He makes this lame ass excuse as to why she should stay because she's drunk and she's clearly like kind of feeling out of it. Like I don't. It's almost like she feels high
Yeah.
because she doesn't know how to feel about it. But she's still kind of just going with it. And he's like, "Well, I'll be a gentleman. You could just stay here tonight." And she doesn't. She doesn't want him to be a
Yeah.
gentleman. And so they stay the night together. We don't get to see a sex scene. Bummer. But it's not Red Shoe Diaries. It's the X Files. So it is what
Everybody
it
on this
is.
show gets a sex scene except Gillian Anderson. Like we see Skinner having sex. Show us little Gillian Anderson having sex. That should be fine. Equal opportunity.
I'm for it. But okay. We didn't get it. We could have. But next morning, she wakes up in his bed, doors being knocked on, and she answers it because nobody else is there. And I believe she's just wearing her shirt and
It's
no pants.
yeah. Well, I didn't know if it was his shirt because it looked like the classic trope. It's like, okay, they've just had sex because the girl's woken up in his shirt. I
Yeah.
assumed it was his.
And it's a couple of cops, and they're talking about the gal downstairs. She's gone missing. Her blood's in the apartment. Somebody else's blood is in the apartment. Though why they specifically wanted to come see him about it, I don't know. I still don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think they really explain that.
But they have, or she says that she's with the bureau and they could share stuff with her. She won't tell anybody. Um, there's something about some chemical that apparently they had already successfully attempt or tested in the blood that was not the gals that died downstairs. Scully looks it up and sees that it gives like the chemical itself causes psychosis,
Yeah, she starts freaking out.
and then she calls Mulder and then just hangs up on him as he's answering the call. Um, Dude comes back with breakfast. She starts telling him about what's going on. Like I believe the ink, like she just jumps to a Mulder style conclusion that the tattoo ink is making you a crazy person,
Yeah.
and he admits that he's crazy. And she's like, "Well, we're gonna get you fixed up then." And she goes to put on her clothes, and his tattoo starts telling him to figure out who she was talking to on the phone. So he star 6 nines the FBI and then just attacks her. Knocks her into the hallway, and an episode after she kung fu's some cancer eating dude in an ambulance, you think she could get a couple of good licks in, but she does. She just gets her ass kicked and then thrown out of a room, and she like bumps her head on the hallway across the way, and just gets knocked out. Then the tattoo says something about now take these dirty sheets that has her stuff all over them and burn her. So wraps her up in the sheets, to the incinerator. There's one point where I laughed because there's a voiceover that's so blown out and so loud. It sounds like DJ's Grand Horror Radio voiceover stuff. Like I laughed because it's just one sentence in the middle of all of this where they just decided it wasn't enough Jodie Foster talk, and so
Yeah.
they did not do volume control well.
Yeah.
So they get her down to the basement. Somehow Scully gets free of the sheets as he's opening up the door, and she starts like, "You don't have to do this. We could not do this." And he's like, he thrusts his arm, his whole arm, into the incinerator and just barbecues his arm in order to get rid of this tattoo.
Bet that smelled great.
Oh yeah, flavor. Have you ever smelled burned flesh before?
Not human flesh.
It's it's got a unique pungency to it. It's I wouldn't say it's bad. Go get a well, I'm serious. Go get it. Go face it sometime. And
Look,
then
I had a conversation with a buddy of mine quite a while ago, and I was just like, if the top chef in the world said, I have cooked a piece of human meat for you to try. Like, and it's, there's nothing wrong with it. You're not going to catch anything from it. It's a perfectly good piece of like human meat, made by the greatest chef in the world. Would you eat it? Like, would you try it? I'm going to ask you that question. Would you eat it if it was offered to you?
are we talking free range? Human?
whatever human that the greatest chef in the world would deem worthy enough to have a slice chopped off of them, cooked, sautéed, whatever, however that chef wants to make that great piece of meat, and he says, "This is human." Would you eat it? Would you
Don't
try
think so.
it?
I'm as big a fan of food as I am. I don't think I'm gonna go quite there. There's a survival horror game called DayZ, and if you can't find meat to keep yourself fed, you can butcher a human and take and cook and eat their meat, but eventually it gives you a disease that drives you crazy in the game.
Mm.
And you start just like randomly giggling as you're walking around, your character does, and it makes other people hear you in a survival situation. They actually call it giggle chicken because of the crazy.
Well, I know there's like those tribes that get that brain disease because they eat. I don't know if they're eating the brains of other tribes people, and then over time it like screws them up and they sort of go crazy. But I'm just talking like piece of tender inner thigh cooked. But let's say Jeremy, the person's not even dead. They're just like, yeah, you could take a piece of my inner thigh and have the greatest chef in the world prepare it and then try it. Let's say it's mine, Jeremy. Would you try my inner thigh
Um,
prepared by the best
I've,
chef in the world? And I'm like,
okay,
you could eat it.
you, you are what you eat, and that's definitely true about animals. Like I remember, or I've eaten all sorts of animals, but I remember one time I had the opportunity to eat bear because of a hunter friend of a friend
Mm.
had gotten extra bear steaks that he was just giving out. Now I know that hunter's friend of a friend was a very fat, lazy person, but I hadn't thought about it until I got one of these steaks, got on the internet, figured out how to cook it, cooked it as they said. I ate it, and when you lift the lid of a dumpster to toss a can into a hot
Oh yeah,
dumpster, that you hold your breath, you hold your nose, but
yeah.
every once in a while you get that flavor in you. That that was just on the very edges of eating that steak, and I know that this lazy ass hunter was just it had killed a bear that was eating out of dumpsters, like living that close to human beings. And a huge chunk of their diet was just
What are you
eating
trying to
garbage.
say about me, Jeremy?
What I'm saying is, I see how you eat, Matt. And if you want to go like the next year just eating steak properly, like I know how you know how to eat, yeah, I'll have a Matt steak. But barring that, I don't know.
Okay, okay. Well, I'd have a Jeremy steak. So
Good, good. I had some gas station hot dogs today. I hope it goes down well.
I'll just dip it in ketchup. It's fine.
You would, you would. Trash. So, God, where were we in this episode?
Guy throws Scully into a wall.
Oh
Knocks her
yeah, yeah.
out.
No, no, no. They're at the thing. He torches his arm.
Oh yeah,
It,
towards the
it
arm. Yeah.
smells like barbecue, and then that just kind of ends the episode. Or it goes back to Scully showing up at Mulder's office, and it looks in her face like she's ready to quit the X Files
Oh yeah.
right then and there. And she gets congratulated that she is in yet another X File because Mulder is just aloof and doing his, I don't have feelings
Such an asshole to her.
or
Wow.
emotional intelligence of a feral cat. Um, and he looks at her eventually because she's moping and she's not saying anything. And he finally looks at her and he finally like it breaks through. And that's the worst part about his assholishness is it's not as though he's completely oblivious to what's going on. Because he finally addresses it and says, "All of this because I didn't get you a desk."
Well, right before he says that, he makes a joke about how he's going to go get a tattoo of the New York Yankees on his ass or something like that. And you can tell, like any normal human being, especially when you have such a close relationship with that other human being, he should be able to look at her and realize, wow, not only is she embarrassed, but she's clearly going through some heavy emotional shit right now, and it's not the time to make a joke about the tattoo that she's probably regretting. And he just again, it continues the trend in season 4 of the writers making Mulder out to just be a dick,
So,
and I don't like it.
I, but at the same time, compared to it's not just season 4. He's more of a dick now than he normally is because it's right on Front Street. But he's always just kind of been this way.
Yeah, this just feels different. It just feels like it's more mean spirited than it was in the past. Like in previous seasons, he's just kind of like, yeah, he's got that aloofness, and he's so obsessed with his own sort of the way he sees things or whatever X file he's investigating, that kind of dickishness comes across to me as not necessarily intentional. It's just like, oh geez, I'm just not recognizing this the pain that this person is in. In this particular episode, he goes out of his way to make a joke about her situation while she is feeling completely depressed right in front of him. And even if we go back to like home, when he's just making constant jokes about, derogatory jokes about the people that live there and everything like that, I'm just like, it feels like they're writing him differently. Like it's just mean spirited asshole ish instead of oblivious asshole ish, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think it's just happening more often in this season than it's happened in previous ones.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
It's a cumulative effect when we don't have that week buffer between episodes where we're just like, oh man,
Yeah.
he's being a dick again.
But she does have
So,
that great line where she's like, not everything's about you. And then he goes, yeah, but, and then she just gives him this look, and then he doesn't say anything.
yeah,
It's
shuts his ass down.
and that's the end of the episode. They just, sit at Mulder's desk quietly with one another. What'd you think of Never Again?
Um, I mean, was it better than the fucking Dos Bichos to Electric Blue? Yes, it was. Um, Especially like the tattoo parlor scene is the hottest scene that has existed in this show thus
Oh,
far.
100%.
Like, oh my god, she was so steamy. But outside of that, outside of getting watched to watch that, I thought the premise was kind of
Yeah.
stupid. I thought the tattoo thing, the voiceover was really bad. I thought the guy acting was decent, but
Yeah, he
when
was
your
okay.
when your co-star is this disembodied voice that sounds like shit, like it kind of fell flat.
Yeah, I thought everything with the tattoo was super dumb. Like, I didn't like the tattoo, talking to the guy, Jodie Foster had, like, no personality whatsoever as the voice of this tattoo. There was I mean, why they got Jodie Foster to do this, they coulda had literally anybody do this role, the speaking sort of role. It just I don't know, like you said, there's the stuff with Scully was interesting, but I wish it would have been in a better episode than this. And I think when we talk about the fun facts about this episode, there's some wild stories about what could have been with this episode. And I'm just going to go ahead and get into those now because they are
Let's do
pretty
it.
yeah, they're pretty crazy. So Never Again was written by writing partners Glenn Morgan and James Wan, making it their final episode of The X-Files until they returned to the show during its 10th season. Following this episode, the two took over as executive producers of the Fox program Millennium, also created by Chris Carter. Now, here's where it gets kind of weird. The initial story the two developed was a sort of Abraham Lincoln's ghost in the White House type of thing, which would have involved Mulder and Scully investigating the haunting. Morgan explained that he had, quote, done a lot of research and he had always wanted to write a feature about Lincoln's ghost, unquote. However, due to the massive amounts of rewrites the two were forced to do for Musings of a Cigarette Smoking Man, both Morgan and Wong lost interest in their original story. Morgan explained, quote, I felt they didn't want my heart and soul anymore, so I wouldn't give the ghost story to them, unquote. The two later crafted Never Again in its place. Years later, Frank Spotnitz said he, quote, always wondered about the original story and what the finished product would have been like. Now, Gillian Anderson was particularly pleased with the episode, as it shows a different side of Scully. She said, quote, I thought the plot of Never Again was a great idea. I personally was going through a dark period at the time, and I wanted to explore Scully's dark side. For some reason, Glenn and Jim were on the same wavelength that week. Afterward, a lot of people told me that on the episode it was so unlike Scully or that it showed my range. I told them I thought they were wrong. I don't think that what I did here was out of character for Scully. The only difference is that the audience hadn't seen it before, unquote, which I think is an interesting take. Initially, Anderson called up Morgan and asked him to write a story in which Scully falls hard for another man, leading to an intense kind of romantic or passionate relationship. Morgan obliged and wrote a scene featuring Scully enjoying a passionate night with Jers. This was later removed from the script by series creator Chris Carter, making it the only time that Carter had removed one of Morgan's scenes. Morgan later noted, quote, I think Chris thought I was monkeying around with him, but I really wasn't. So there you go, Jeremy. Chris Carter took away your Scully sex scene.
Cock blocked me. I mean,
Yep.
that would still be in the spank bank to this day. Thanks, Chris Carter.
Now here's what's crazy. While Never Again was directed by Rob Bowman, the job. Well, I'm going to give you three chances here to guess who was originally supposed to direct this episode, and I'm going to give you a hint in terms of very famous movie directors. I'm going to see if you can get it. It's a director that you love, or at least I know you love a lot of this guy's movies. Who do you
What?
think could have directed this episode or was planning to
Why?
direct this episode?
Why is my brain farting? The Thing director,
No, not John Carpenter.
John Carpenter.
I'll say he broke out in the 90s, and he every one of the movies, when he makes a movie, it's like an event. Like, people go to see it because he directed it.
Frank Darabont.
No. Quentin Tarantino.
What?
Yes. So the job was originally supposed to go to Quentin Tarantino, but he was prevented by the Directors Guild of America. The guild noted that Tarantino, who is not a member, failed to join the union after working on ER, violating an agreement the two parties had made. A spokeswoman for 20th Century Fox later noted, quote, Quentin approached us. We were very excited at the opportunity. We made some special arrangements and were disappointed that it's not happening. But we bowed to Quentin's philosophical stance and we hope something can be worked out for the future, unquote. Can you imagine what this would an episode, any episode of the X Files directed by Quentin Tarantino?
He would have gotten final cut, so we would have had the sex scene.
It would have been incredible. It
Yeah.
would have been crazy good. It's so I want to like just step into that sort of timeline and see what that would have looked like because that would have just been crazy. The actor who portrays Ed Jurist, Rodney Roland, was a former cast member of Glenn Morgan and James Wong's short-lived Fox series Space Above and Beyond. He and Gillian Anderson dated after this episode, so it looks like Gillian Anderson wasn't faking those reactions when she was working with that guy during this episode. Jodie Foster, a friend of series casting agent Randy Stone, provided the voice of Ed's tattoo, Betty. Anderson initially volunteered to get a real Ouroboros tattoo for the episode, but she was later told by the production crew that it would have taken too long and it wouldn't have been practical. So there you go. Those are the fun facts of Never Again. I mean, Quentin Tarantino. What could have been, right? What could have been.
What should have been.
Yeah, what should have been, for sure. For sure. So there you go, folks. Hit that like and subscribe. Let us know what you thought of this episode. We will be back next Friday. We're going to talk about the episode Memento Mori. So we will see you next Friday. Same time, same YouTube channel. See you then.